Hello, Ninja. So happy to see you. And I did find my mic, so hopefully my sound is all right. Hopefully everything's okay. Delightful to see you here. Going to be lurker, nearly time to get up. We'll be listening while I make breakfast. No problem. That is lovely. Thank you for being here. And thank you for all of your amazing, amazing videos. Let's see, pin message. Is that going to work? That's the one I want to pin. All right, cool. So let's get started. I have not gone live since Friday night, you guys. Did you see my 1 minute video that I put up? Holy crap. Sherry and Granny Nanny, you guys are all here. Thank you. Much love and appreciation. Here, let me set my little notepad down so I can do the thumbsy thing. Please hit your like button if you don't mind. And make sure you're still subscribed. No, it's the wrong side. It's over here. We are losing subs still. You know, it just is what it is. I think I'm being hamburglarized, but who knows? Yeah, I mean, I know my yoga videos aren't so thrilling, but anyway, share videos of mine if you like. And to me, my yoga videos are thrilling. So I apologize that I'm sure they're not very thrilling to most people. But if you were doing it, you'd be thrilled too. So I'll get to that in a second. Turn on your notification bell to ring if you like to be notified. Sherry, I had a great birthday, and you guys were so sweet watching my little video where I said, "It's my birthday" at the end. And everybody was like, "Happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday," except for this one troll who like jumped down my throat, didn't say nothing about my birthday, but said, "There were ATVs out there, you idiot. I was there. They were everywhere." Oh man, I think I struck a nerve. And so I screenshot the troll and I blocked him because I was just like, this was the same person that was like emotionally abusing me for posting my silly singing videos. And I know they're silly, but if you don't like them, don't watch them. And if you don't like them and then you're going to waste your time commenting on them as well as waste your time watching them, that's just kind of sad. But, I tried to take that in stride and just say, okay, thanks for watching. Thanks for your honest criticism. And yeah, F off. So anyway, I blocked them and then I unblocked them. So if she's watching right now, then she can't comment because I have it set. So you have to be a sub for 20 minutes. But I did unblock her because I don't like blocking people. I only have like 4 people blocked and they're like dirty, nasty trolls. So this one is kind of a dirty, nasty troll, but not as dirty and nasty as the rest of them. So if I see her again, I'll give her another chance. I do like to be inclusive, and it's good, like food for thought. She gave me so much to think about. Let me move my little light down because I see it's like glowing, and I don't like that. It's washing stuff out there. She gave me so much to think about, you guys. First of all, and thanks again for your birthday wishes, and thank you for your comments. Oh, Granny Nanny, I saw ask for pictures from the troll. Yeah, I saw your comments and I responded. I tried to respond to everybody's comments, but yours were really good because, yeah, I've paid very close attention to Kiely Rodney's case, like basically daily for 2 years. Because it was actually right around my birthday when it happened. And of course, when they say it happened on August 6th, and then when the public found out about it, which was probably like 2 or 3 days later, and then when it actually happened, yeah, I think that the time frame is askew. But I also think that it jogged my memory. And I'll say, Fred, how are you? It jogged my memory that, yeah, I did see one ATV. I saw Dad and Grandpa pull up on the ATV when Kiely was allegedly found, right? They pulled up on the ATV and SF was there, and then they're all talking, and Dad and Grandpa were staying in the camper 2 minutes away by ATV. And I thought, well, that's weird. Why would they be staying there when that area had been cleared? Like cleared. There, remember, 20,000 man hours had gone into determining that her car and her were nowhere near there. So why would her dad and grandpa stay right there? And all of a sudden it hit me. Was that staged? Was that staged? It makes no sense for them to be staying right there when it was clearly determined that she was not in the area. But then they just happened to be there when she was. I think the whole Kiely Rodni case was staged. I really do. I think the whole time frame was staged. I think we have a lot of liars, and I don't like to throw my suspicion towards dad or grandpa because there's something about them. They seem very genuine and good. I think that they really care about Kiely, but I do have suspicion towards them. And it was this Hamburglar, I'll just call her, because I think that she might be related. Her handle is very similar to that last name. It's interesting. Anyway, whether she's one of them or not, she's cut from the same cloth, basically. Anyway, what is it that I'm trying to say? My brain's going in like 12 different directions because I'm so excited to be live. So thanks for being here, you guys. Let me try to catch up so I don't fall behind. Ask for pictures from the troll. Always clever. Always super clever. Let's see. The unblocked troll can give proof of all those agencies and ATVs. Yeah. Well, and just all those freaking agencies, like that's a giveaway right there. And the bad guys always tell on themselves. So for anybody who missed my post about SF Investigates on my community feed, it looks like he put up a social media post a few days ago trying to clap back at Bullhorn Betty, who said that he'd been fired by Kiely Rodni's family. And he's like, hey, I still work for them. And I'm like, wow, thanks for that. Thanks for letting us all know that. And it says SF Investigate, so you can only take him with a grain of salt. But if he does still work for them, do you really think that they want him telling people that on social media publicly? And why would he still be working for them? It just got me going, and it got my gears turning so much. I'm grateful for all of the back and forth, the Discord, because that's how we can find things and we can sift through it. There's a lot of crap, but without that discourse, without the back and forth, we're not going to get that. So I really appreciate, it was Jay is for Justice, or her other channel, Every Day with Jay. She put up a community post of the SF Investigates post because it's on like X or something like that I don't generally use. So I just took screenshots from her post and made a different post out of them. Check it out. It's crazy. It's freaking crazy. So yeah, we're all in this together. We're all trying to find the truth for Kiely, but this one troll was like, screw you guys and your conspiracy theories. Give it up. Kiely got in a car accident. What's wrong with you? Okay. All right. Like, so we're all just over here in left field, carrying on and on about somebody who had a simple car accident a couple years ago, and the freaking California State Highway Patrol still can't finish their accident report. Come on. Now, you guys, I'm always bringing up Christopher Stanio, the deputy from Nevada County that was at Kiely Rodni's search, and then his reunited estranged wife's daughter. So his stepdaughter, Trinity Backus, her mother had just moved back in with him. They'd been divorced for a couple of years, and she had just moved back in with Deputy Stanio a few weeks before Trinity went missing, is my understanding. And I believe that Trinity probably was living with her mother. Well, she was living with her mother. So I believe that she moved in with her mother to Stanio's house. But this is what I want to say that I often forget to remind you guys, in case you don't know, is that Chris Stanio has an identical twin. Yeah, Chris Stanio has an identical twin, and he's a California State Highway Patrol officer. Not kidding you. Not kidding you. And yeah, I should have his name handy. I think it's Matthew Stanio. I'm thinking it's Matthew Stanio. Let me check. If I Google real quick, I think I can probably determine if that's incorrect or not. Sorry, I meant to have that handy. Matthew Stanio, California Highway Patrol. So yeah, they'd both been officers for a while. Yep, Matthew A. Stanio comes right up. Open payrolls. First thing on Google, Matthew A. Stanio, Highway Patrol Officer, State of California. So, is that so crazy? Is that so flippin' insane? And I can't believe that I so often forget to mention that, because pretty much every time I bring up Trinity and her stepdad and all the suspicion there, I want to then remind you about her stepdad's identical twin brother, because I was blown out of the water when I first discovered that. And of course, it was Google who told me. And you can look it up for yourself. Matthew A. Stanio. And there's pictures of them together. You know, they're cute in their uniforms and identical twins. They're little stud muffins. But creepy, isn't it? Is that bizarre for anybody who didn't know or who forgot? There's so much weird stuff on this case that we forget. The Massachusetts cops have had overtime scams. It feels like Kiely's alleged search party funds were an overtime scam, in my opinion. I felt like that from the get-go, Granny Nanny. Yeah, because didn't they get like a $3 million grant or something to find her? So they were very invested in her not being found so that they could have that money. I think it was Mama and Girlfriend. Jersey Eagle? Mama and Girlfriend of Kiely Rodni? Because I do want to get to that. I do feel like all of Kylie's friends lied. And her mother, and maybe even her father and grandfather. I definitely feel like Mags and Kate, obviously Scammy lied. But I think that the stories that Mags and Kate had of hanging out with her that day, I think that's fabricated. I think that's designed to throw off the timeline. I think that the texting from Kylie's phone to the mother, back and forth to her and to Jägermeister, I think that that was not Kiely. That was somebody using her phone, pretending to be her before they ditched it in the water. And the whole thing with that last ping being at 12:33, and then Scammy saying that she had the last phone call with Kiely at 12:36, right about 12:36. Like, until Shanda, Squirrels on Fire, found that information about Scammy's mother and father having control of 34 billion dollars of funds from, I think it was 2020 to 2030, for different projects that they're working on for the federal government. Just slightly under $34 billion. So that's why she was in charge of the search party. Right, because that's not weird. The news introduced Scammy as one of the search coordinators. Okay, you guys know that I'm married to law enforcement, and I've seen a lot of search parties. You're never going to have a search coordinator who's not law enforcement, unless they're like a specialist in search party coordinating. Okay, seriously. And you're especially not going to have a teenager. I mean, you might have an 18-year-old explorer with the police department. It's a stretch, but sure, if there's an 18-year-old explorer with the police department that really wants experience as a search coordinator, maybe they'd let that person do a little bit. But Scammy was the main search coordinator. That was weird. That was really weird. Oh man, there's just so much that is so mind-blowing. And again, this troll jumping down my throat for covering Kiely really shocked me. Like, I was just like, wow, did I hit a nerve or something? That's what it made me think. That's really what it made me think. More federal funds from Rodney family. Oh yeah, Hawaiian water. And the entire case, they think we were all so stupid. The whole thing with the car going in the water is not unlikely. It's impossible. It's literally impossible. A car could not go in the water like they say it did and go that far out. That whole thing is preposterous. And yeah, it's what is officially on the record as the narrative of how things went down. And it's completely bogus. It's completely bogus. I mean, not a lot of us are experts in mud and cars sinking in lakes. There are experts out there, but it's easy to get gaslit. It's absolutely easy to get gaslit. Let's see. A lot of things you don't think about until something brings it to your attention. So the thing that brought the ATVs to my attention, I'd been telling you guys how excited I was about that August 8th release on HBO Max of Taken Together, the story of Lyric Cook. I want to make sure I get their names right. And her cousin. I don't want to mess them up. Hold on. How come they're not jumping out at me? I know it's right here. Hold on. Nope, it's not right here. As soon as I give up, it'll come up. So the Evansdale, Iowa, right? So Lyric, and do you guys remember Elizabeth Collins? Thank you, Ninja. You're the best. I'm like, I know I have it right here. It's so close, but yet so far. Yeah, there it is. Elizabeth Collins and Lyric Cook. So I think one of my pages might have gotten ripped out because I had it written down in a few places. Anyway, I caught the trilogy. It's 3-part series. I think they're about an hour each. Very, very educational. And it was the thing with the search for them the first day that they went missing, and everybody's out there on ATVs. I mean, there's ATVs everywhere. And I thought, wait a second. That makes sense. But then the only ATV I saw in the whole Kiely Rodni case was the one that Dad and Grandpa pulled up on when they said they were staying in the camper right on site. Why would they be staying right on site when that area had been determined not to have her in it? For crying out loud. Give me an effing break. Sorry to cuss, but it's really frustrating, isn't it? I mean, it's like we're spinning our wheels. We're going around and around, and we're not going to give up because we freaking care. We care about people like Kiely. That was another thing this troll said is like, move on to other cases. There's other cases that need your attention. True. There are a lot of cases that need attention. However, by focusing on one case, that helps you figure things out for other cases. Like every time I'm looking at other cases, it helps me get a new perspective on Kiely's case. So I'm grateful for that. But that's one of the reasons why I like to check out so many cases, is because it makes you think. So with Lyric and Elizabeth, so these cousins were 8 and 10 years old. This is a town of like 5,000 people in Iowa, not too far from Cedar Rapids, like 10 or 12 miles from Cedar Rapids. Really scary and interesting statistics. It's extremely rare to have a double kidnapping, to have 2 people kidnapped at the same time. It's only happened maybe a dozen times in the United States of America since the 70s. They have it quoted in that docu-series. But 10 months later, there was the 12 and 15-year-olds abducted in Dayton. And I want to say one of them got away. I mean, it takes my breath away. So this one of these 2 double abductions was the 16th one in the US since the 70s. So I think that the Elizabeth and Lyric was the 16th, and then the one that happened 10 months later was the 17th. And it was also in Iowa. So it was disgusting. This is all covered in, I think, episode 2 of the 3-part miniseries, and it goes into great detail of these 2 girls that got abducted, and then one of them got away. So the other one didn't. Very, very disgusting. So Michael Klunder was the person who abducted the other 2, and he was cleared as being the person who abducted Lyric and Elizabeth. But if you watch the series, you'll see that there's still a question. It could be him. He's deceased now. It could be him. But what's important about the miniseries is that it sheds new light onto this case that's 12 years old. And it puts him back in the mix because he was ruled out. He was literally ruled out by the authorities, saying that they determined that he was either at work or at home when it happened. Okay. He didn't live very far away, and for work he traveled. So it's kind of absurd that they're saying he couldn't have done it because he was either at work or at home. Because, okay, first of all, you're saying you're not sure where he was, but if you're saying that he was at work, he was traveling. And there are people that say that he was there. So I'll let you watch it. And that area, Dayton, is 100 miles away from Evansdale. This guy, Michael Klunder, is such a dirtbag. He abducted a 21-year-old prior to the 2 teenagers that he red roamed one of. And he didn't serve much time for that. So he'd been released from prison, and he was married, and then he did this. But prior to abducting the 21-year-old, you guys, that got away, so that's why he didn't get that much time. Unbelievable. He had abducted 2 3-year-old girls in 1991. 2 toddlers. I think it was from a daycare or something like that. And he put them in a freaking garbage bin, a dumpster. Oh my goodness. And then of course, it all like dovetails into the Delphi case, because that's another 2. and Delphi is in Indiana. We know this. I used to be confused and think that the Evansdale was Indiana also. And I won't get into that because it's too confusing. But another issue I have with Kiely Rodni, and a lot of people have been talking about this lately, I think, the people that are still talking about Kiely Rodni, is that there was the tiniest memorial for her. So the 2-year anniversary just passed. Cece and Mrs. G were both there at Prosser for the anniversary at the memorial. Tiny little memorial, tiny little bench at her charter school, Lake Forest. But I've been looking for the Lake Forest high school graduation video, and I don't think they're ever going to release it because Kiely would be in that. And they release all the others. But why do they want to erase her? Why not just show her graduating? Like, what's wrong with that? Is it because they don't want her face out there? Because people might recognize her? I got to be honest with you guys. I'm thinking more and more that she's abducted with her freaking passport. It's crazy, I know, but stranger things have happened. So anyway, the troll called me and you guys all a bunch of conspiracy theorists, and it's just like, when you throw that word around, you're just trying to throw a wet towel on people. You're just trying to shame people into shutting the F up, right? It was Larissa Slaughter, I think, that called the motor vehicle accident a conspiracy. And it was, in my opinion, because a bunch of people conspired to make it look like that is what happened to Kiely. I don't think that that's what happened to Kiely. I still don't think that that's her in the vehicle. I don't think that that's her in the autopsy. If you're dealing with traffickers, not to be so crass and trigger warning, but corpses are easy to come by. Easy to come by when you're dealing with trafficking. So the body was the wrong size, everything, all of the parts, like the brain, the lungs, the teeny tiny lungs, the brain that weighed exactly 1,000 grams. The lungs were like the size of a 2-year-old's, I think, if that. All of the organs were like in round numbers, like they didn't actually weigh anything. They were just estimating. And then we know that it was signed in blue ink and that there was whiteout used and that they didn't actually identify her for real. They just were like, yeah, we think it's her. There's a tattoo and it looks like her, but we'll just leave it at that. That's crazy. When you're dealing with a life being lost of a 16-year-old, you have to have the verification legitimately. You absolutely 100%. There's no bending those rules. You've got dental records, you've got fingerprints, you've got DNA, or 2 or 3 of those. You don't need more than one, but you have to have one. Dental records, DNA, fingerprints. So they said they couldn't do fingerprints on her because of the slippage. Again, trigger warning. That's not necessarily true. If she was waterlogged for 2 weeks, they could still actually get fingerprints from that. And dental records, we know she had braces. She obviously saw a dentist. And then DNA, everybody in her family is right there. It's crazy. It's absolutely insane. So I feel like the whole Kiely Rodni case is a conspiracy, in my opinion. So sick of people telling me to move on. Right. It's like, mind your own effing business. I mean, sure, they could say that to us, but why do people care if we're focusing on it if they're not interested? If it's annoying to them, there's like a gazillion other things in the universe they could focus on. Like that band ARJ that I've been obsessing on. You guys, if you haven't checked out ARJ, if you don't know who they are, please do yourself a favor and check them out. They are so freaking talented and inspiring. And I've posted a bunch of their songs on my community feed. And a lot of you probably already know who they are. They're just super cool. Anyway, lots of things going on in the world that any of us can focus on other than this case or even other than true crime. I mean, it's a big, big world. So if it bothers you for someone to talk about this case, then like scroll and roll, baby. Right? I mean, it's crazy. But Ninja, I'm glad that they tell us to move on because when they do, they're giving themselves away. Like, who's saying it and why? That's what I think. That's exactly what I think. And for that, I thank them. At the pig farm, one got away and the guy topped himself. Yeah, Ninja. Yeah. You're all the way over there in Australia. How do you focus on these cases on the other side of the world? I mean, you've got a lot of interesting cases in your country too. But I don't know, maybe the public records are not, maybe other countries don't have the sunshine law the way the USA does. So that makes it better to be studying true crime in the USA. I mean, the sunshine law is amazing. It doesn't always work, and records are still altered and hidden and destroyed. There's always the surveillance camera that wasn't working that day, right? There was a glitch in the system, like always. Always. Give me a break. But back to surveillance cameras. There should be surveillance cameras of Kylie's car all over Truckee up until the day it went in the water. We haven't seen those, have we? Not a one. Not a one. Sherry says, agree with you, Jazz. Thank you. It's nice to have company. Although, I will stand out here and scream and jump up and down by myself. It is really nice to have company. Because, yeah, you do need to check in. And like Ninja was saying recently, you do need to check in with yourself and make sure you're pursuing this for the right reasons. You're not doing it for ego. You're not doing it for glory. You're not doing it for money. You're not doing it to try to prove that you're right. You're doing it because you know that things don't sound right. I think the reason Kylie's case went viral when it first happened was because everybody around the freaking world knew right away that it wasn't adding up. Everybody knew that right away. Everyone could smell her at the second Scammy put her face in front of a camera, right? It wasn't just me and it wasn't just you. It was the whole freaking planet. And that case got blowed up. Another case that I've been talking about lately that I've not seen any new information on that I wish would get blowed up is the Taylor Casey, the woman in the Bahamas traveling from Chicago at the yoga retreat center. And not just because I'm a yoga instructor too, but because it's so wrong. And it's so wrong that the United States government isn't doing something about it. It's so wrong that the military specifically is not doing something about it, especially because Taylor Casey served our Air Force. She's a vet. That case reminds me so much of Kiely Rodney's case. It's creepy AF. Absolutely. It's really sad. We do have Freedom of Information Act, but it's harder to get a hold of stuff. Oh, that's interesting, Ninja. Thank you for that information. That's very interesting. And yeah, for the most part, anyone who has never done a Freedom of Information Act, just so you know that it's not as daunting, it's not as big of a deal as it might sound like. usually all you do is email somebody. You just look online, you find out who the person is, what their email address is. Like the clerk of courts usually is who it's going to be. So like in the Idaho 4 case, it's going to be Chief Small Fry's wife, Julie. And you send them an email and you say, I'd like this, that, and the other thing. So you have to know what it is that you're looking for. You have to know that it's there. And if you ask for too broad of a request, they will usually email you back and say that's too broad. You need to be more specific. So they'll try to narrow it down because they don't want you to go on a fishing expedition, as they call it, where you say, just send me everything you have for the last 6 months in Idaho prior to 11/13 of 2022. Obviously, that's too huge. But we do know that there's been a lot of interesting cases in Idaho just a few months prior to that happening. A lot of body cam footage, a lot of cases that were not documented. Bubbly Waters is really good at finding the ones that are not documented. She goes through painstakingly with a fine-tooth comb. It's pretty exhausting, but I applaud her for doing that. And then, of course, Paula Plunder is notorious for getting her hands on everything. I mean, she's the one who brought us a lot of the body cam footage from the Idaho 4, like the parties and the the car theft. Remember when Xana had her car rifled through? And then there was a neighbor. Was it Xana or was it her neighbor? Anyway, in either case, there's just a lot of footage that is fascinating to look at, and you see things in these other cases that might help you in this case. So back to my point about executing a Freedom of Information Act request. So usually when you make the request, they will deny it. I have found like more than half of the requests that I've made have been denied for one reason or another. But then if you follow up with whatever it is that they're saying that it was denied for, then they usually will provide it. So it usually takes 2 emails to get it. Sometimes it takes a lot more. Sometimes it can take years. And then if you want the record and they're not giving it to you, you have to notify them of an intent to sue before you sue. But I know somebody who sued for a public records request to be released, and he won. So he was also reimbursed thousands of dollars by the agency that wouldn't release it when he won the lawsuit. So, you have to have the wherewithal to be organized, to have a lawyer, to have the money to go about doing that. But it's important for a democracy for the laws to be followed. So, again, it was Paula Plunder who notified the Weld County that she had the intent to sue for that 3-hour and 33-minute interview with NK and her father Dwayne. So that she had probably followed up on her initial request, I want to say 10 or 20 times over 3 years. And I was in contact with her when she was doing that, and I had been requesting it as well. And I told her they've probably destroyed it by now. And as soon as I said that, she got it. So I love being proven wrong. I have no desire to be right in situations like these. So, I hope that nobody did anything sinister to Kiely. I really do. But I don't think that that's the case. I think it's abundantly clear that she was betrayed severely in the worst possible way. So Ninja says, also, when I try to cover Australian cases, nobody watches. That's too bad, and I hear you because I watch a lot of the television, like 48 Hours, 2020, Dateline. a lot of those kind of docudramas or whatever you want to call them. And there are a lot of good cases in that genre from Australia. And I have to cop to it that I usually don't pay attention to them just because I do also stay more focused on the US. Although I do have to say that there are many cases from Australia specifically that catch my eye and that I want to watch. It's just that you have to prioritize, right? Isn't it called Forest Charter? Thank you, Fred. Lake Forest, you are the man because you're from Chicago. Lake Forest is just north of Chicago. It's where the wealthiest of the wealthy live. It's where the United States Navy has their training camp. It's gorgeous. I love Lake Forest. So yeah, I crossed my wires. And Fred is from Chicago, so he caught it right away. Forest Charter School. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You're the bomb. Yes, Fred. And hi. And I believe it was her neighbor, the neighbor, in which need to do a FOIA for the Valerie Peterson case, but because it's so old, it's going to be a challenge to find where the docs ended up. Yeah. Yeah. And, like in the Helena Hutchins case, it's not anything new for law enforcement to hide documents in different files. So it's really important that nothing is hidden. But for instance, if you put all of your assaults of the most intimate type, if you put all those under miscellaneous, for instance, then if you get a request that says, can you tell me how many essays you've had in your jurisdiction in the last 12 months? They can say 0 because there's no cases in an essay file. They're all in the miscellaneous file. So if you don't know to ask for any miscellaneous essays, I mean, I'm not even kidding you guys. This is how it's done. So that was the one thing with the Helena Hutchins case that I did feel like that was a win, that the judge was punishing the law enforcement for not acknowledging the documentation of the box of the random ammo that was dropped off by Hannah Gutierrez Reed's daddy's friend in the 11th hour. And I don't know what's going on with her case, but I hope it doesn't get overturned. I would imagine that it would, but I don't think it should. I don't think any of that should have went the way that it went, even though it also should have been documented in that file, in the Helena Hutchins file, that there was this other case number with that in it. So if they had just made a single sentence note in their freaking file, that would not have been the way the judge would have dismissed the case. But it's my belief that the judge was going to dismiss the case one way or another. And in the end, I felt like it was really fortunate that they even began the trial, because we all know that they were talking about not pressing charges with your A-list movie star. And then they filed the charges, and then they withdrew the charges. And then when they were refiled, it was nice that it got to trial before it blew over, went sideways. I was so looking forward to Lane Looper's testimony and Hannah Gutierrez Reed's testimony and a lot of others. So, Xana's neighbor. Thank you, Sherry. You're the best. Yeah. Xana's neighbor, Idaho 4 car break-in. Right. I just remember the thing about the underpants being like put in the cup holder. Do you guys remember that part? Very random and weird. So it's like somebody was just messing with her stuff. Earthquake in LA this afternoon. Yeah, Fred Field. I saw that. Not a big one. I think it was like under a 5 on a Richter scale. And I've been in earthquakes under 5 on a Richter scale, and it just feels like a big Mack truck is driving by really close to you, basically. I have been in bigger earthquakes too that, feels like the ground is soup under your feet, because that's what it does. It like liquefies. It's crazy. If it's like a 7 or higher, I think. Anyway, thanks for that. So yeah, the other thing I wanted to talk about that is not true crime, if you don't mind, momentarily, can we talk about the Olympics? Because I know it wrapped up. Was that just yesterday that they did the closing ceremony, or was it the day before? I think it was yesterday. Um, but the breakdancing, breaking as they call it, that didn't happen until Friday and Saturday. So the last time I brought it up in a live last week, somebody said, "Oh, the breaking already happened." And I was like, "Dang, I missed it." But no, it hadn't happened yet. Maybe they had done like a, I don't know, an elimination standoff or something. But if you guys haven't caught the break dancing, holy crap. I have to talk about it. I apologize if that is too untrue crime-ish, but it's so freaking awesome. There are so many talented breakdancers out there, and it's hard for me to just call it breaking because, I'm old school, so we call it breakdancing. And for anyone who doesn't know, the people that compete in the event, in the sport, are called B girls or B boys. So if you're a breakdancer, you're either a B boy or a B girl, which I found interesting because I was like, what is that? And it's like lowercase b and lowercase g. So the B girls are like some of the most talented athletes I think I've ever seen in my freaking life, like crazy talented. And what they do when they compete, when they go up against each other, it's almost like wrestling where they have this like whole persona thing, and they're all dressed like home fries, with their like Dickies types of outfits on. And they do the gesturing to each other and, it's a dance fight basically. But the first 10 seconds, they determine who goes first and they take turns dancing. So they each break for like a minute at a time, and they do sets of 2 or 3 um, competitions. But so many fascinating things like that. There's no set time for how long they have to dance or for how long they're allowed to dance. Like they can do it for as long or as short as they want, but they want to win and it's exhausting. So usually it's roughly 40 seconds to 60 seconds. And it's incredible. There were a couple of people that were not up to snuff, and it's hard for me to criticize them or to hear other people criticize them, like the one from Australia. I mean, it's like she was nowhere near the level of these other people, but of course I'm nowhere near that level, and no, most people are nowhere near that level. But it was kind of embarrassing to watch some of these folks perform, and you're wondering why. But there was one from I think Afghanistan, who was wearing a cape that said "Free Afghan Women," I think, on the back. It said "Free some women." I think it was Afghan, right? And she wasn't very good at the sport either, but that's not why she was there. She was there to show her cape off, to, fight for freedom, and that was cool. So CC from France stole my heart. Nikki from Lithuania. Nika from Lithuania, the 17-year-old. And then Logistics from the USA. That girl rocked. But there were so many of them that rocked. There was one named 671. She was amazing. I think she took the bronze. I think that Nika from Lithuania took the silver, and I really thought she should have gotten the gold. Personally, I'm not a big fan of the one who got the gold. I just thought her performances were not as intriguing as many of the others, but it all depends on who the judges are, and I guess they're looking for what she offered, right? I mean, it's just like ice skating or gymnastics. I mean, they're very specific, and maybe they give maybe they're not impartial is what I'm trying to say. Because yeah, I disagreed with them also about the males, the male who won the gold and the male who won the silver. I thought it should have been reversed, but you know, I'm no breakdance judge. I'm no breaking judge. I don't even know how to say it. So, oh, 4.4 earthquake. So yeah, for anybody who caught some of the Olympics, I'm always inspired by especially the gymnastics and the ice skating. Like those are probably the most popular for everybody. But watching any of them, like the diving, the swimming, the running, I haven't caught all of it because there's so many events, but I would like to see like the fencing and the shooting and some of the other stuff. I caught a little bit of the shooting, but yeah, there was if you haven't seen any of the breakdancing and you want to see some of it, I would say you could Google on YouTube Nika and Logistics, and it's spelled Logistix, I think. And they did a dance off, the two of them. That was one of my favorites, Nika and Logistics. Okay, so back to true crime. I think, yeah, back to true crime. In the Kiely Rodni case, aside from the bogus autopsy, there's like no documents in her case. There's no motor vehicle accident report. There's no, I don't know, graduation roster. Nothing. There's just no documents of any sort in her case. Like, I don't know, her passport or her driver's license, or maybe even some of the schoolwork that she did when she was powering through and graduating so early. Maybe she did some interesting reports. We know she recorded an incredible song, so that's not really a document, but it's sort of documented something of hers. It's suspicious to me that there's no documents in her case. It's extremely suspicious. Don't you guys agree? If you're still here, if I didn't lose you talking about the breaking. But yeah, I think that Mags and Kate completely lied about hanging out with Kiely that day. I think that even her granddad, who might have said that he had lunch with her that day or something, that might have been a lie. Mom Lindsay said that she texted with her that day, and maybe she did text with Kiely, who she thought was Kiely, and maybe it was someone else that had a hold of her phone. We know that that happens in a lot of cases. So, you know, the most important thing, if you're going to commit a crime, not to give anybody any hot tips, but we all know this, the most important thing is to throw the timeline off. That's like crimes 101 is you got to throw the timeline off. So, for instance, with having all of these things with Kiely at 12:33 and 12:36, they were able to get August 6th as like the legit official last day of her being around, August 6th, where really it was August 5th in 33 minutes, maybe. But that's if any of that case, any of their story is true, which I don't think it is. I think that it was much earlier. So Mark Molina did a video today where he found something online that said that Kiely's last day was August 2nd. And you can go to Mark's last video. I'll link it in the description. I think that that's just misinformation from the internet. The internet is notorious for doing stuff like that. And some of that is like the artificial intelligence, and some of it is just people not fact checking or what have you. But I also don't think it was August 5th or 6th. I think it was prior to that. And how much prior, I don't know. I know we talked about it again in the last live last week, being August 4th, that people were saying that she went to the Hot August Nights with Jägermeister, and that maybe something happened that night, but maybe even prior to that. I always want to keep in mind that the Alpine Club, with their biannual retreat at the Lost Trail Lodge, had been that last weekend prior to August 5th and 6th. It was the Friday and Saturday. It's always the last Friday and Saturday of July and the last Friday and Saturday of January, I think. But I know it's always the last Friday and Saturday of July. So I'm pretty sure that's a men's club too, that it's not any women that are involved in that Alpine Club, which I find creepy. And then we spoke about this in the last live and on Shan's last live, but I have gone back through my records and looked, and the sheriff of Placer County, Wu, was sworn in the end of July, the 26th, I think. Yeah, it was the 26th of July. It was 10 days before this gorgeous 16-year-old goes missing. And he's got an admitted history of statutory with someone that exact same age. And you got to keep in mind that when people, grown-ups, married grown-ups, professionals at work, when they're doing crap like that at work, when married, on the clock, in the freaking company car, and in uniform, that's out of control. That to me is like an addiction that's out of control, that if they could control it, they would, because they don't want to lose their job. They don't want to lose their family, but they can't control themselves when they have an opportunity. They just can't resist. So I just find it highly, highly suspicious, the timing, the 10 days from the time that Placer County Sheriff is sworn in until this event, the official date. So what about prior to that? And it reminds me, in the Idaho 4 case, that Julie Fry, again, Chief Small Fry's wife, who was the financial director of Moscow longer than he was the police chief. So she was installed as the financial director, I think, in 2016. And then he was selected as police chief, I think, in 2018. And then she was elected the clerk of courts on November 7th of 2022, 6 days prior to Idaho 4. So you got Julie Fry and James Fry, a married couple who both graduated from that college, that are in charge of so much of the town. And everybody in that story is from that college. It's pretty bizarre. And it's what they call a legacy school. So a lot of generations of families go to school there. So Coomer Scott Green's son was a current student at the university, I think, when this happened. And Kiely G's family, her mother and father, had met at the university. I think Jack D's parents I know that they were alumni. I don't know if they met there, but Julie and James Fry met when they were students there. I mean, it gets so incestuous, for lack of a better term. It's just crazy. And then to have a power couple like that, to have one person be the police chief, did I say that right? The chief of police. No, I said it backwards. And then the other partner in the marriage to be the director of the finances of the entire city, and then in charge of all the court records. That's a lot of power. And most communities, big and small, are going to do everything in their power to eliminate and reduce conflicts of interest like that. You just don't do that. It's just not a good idea. I mean, it lends itself to corruption, just like having your sheriff being your public administrator and your coroner, being all three of those things in one. And that's the case with Wu. That's the case with Moon. That's the case with all of the rural counties in California. All the sheriff's departments are like that. Like, that is the craziest, like, wild, wild west way of doing things. I mean, sure, that might have been the way they did it when they first settled the area back when the Donner Party got there, but maybe they should change it by now, right? It's CB, what's up? Grandpa said they had lunch together before meeting up with friends. Thanks, Mary Thomas. Nice to see you. And I always think Mary Tyler Moore. Yes. And CB, you're always so awesome to come on in. Let's see. Thanks for sharing about the earthquake, Fred. Yeah, definitely. And I'm thinking we just hit the 1 hour mark. I was so excited to come on and talk with you guys. Today's the 12th. I think my last live was probably somewhere around the 8th or maybe even the 7th. Well, unless you count my 1 minute live, which I don't really count that, even though it is a live. It's a minute long. It's not like having a discussion with you guys. And I'm glad that I put it out there, and I'm glad that the trolls responded, and it just really made me think. So please check out my community feed. I've been posting there the last few days. So yeah, I've been super busy with it being the end of the summer and kids and birthday and falling in love with that band AJR. I told you guys I'm completely in love with the with Jack. So it's Adam, Jack, and Ryan. They're brothers. They're just phenomenally talented. And you know, Jack is like 26 years old, and I'm completely head over heels in love with him. He's adorable. he's just so all three of those brothers, they're very like raw and emotional and honest, and that's just my thing. I love raw, open, honest, emotional. You don't get a lot of that. So I feel like that's what I do, because there's nothing else that I could do. And sometimes that's not the most exciting thing. Sometimes it might be boring. I think that a lot of my life, I try to make boring. I really do. I like routine. I like simplicity, because there's so much drama in the world. I like to keep things on the down low. I like to just do kind of, I like to stay off of people's radar. So it's kind of funny for me to do a YouTube channel, but that's why, like, I don't use my real name as much as I feel divided about that. I feel like I'm my real self, and what's in a name, a rose by any other name is still the same. But I love being honest with you guys. I love being spontaneous. I love that you're here with me, and that that I have an audience. And so I really appreciate that. So thanks for being here. If there's anything else you guys want to say before closing, like I said, I missed you so freaking much over these last few days. And so like I almost came on live on Saturday. I almost came on live yesterday. There was so much going on. So I'm glad that I finally made it here today. I have been posting my YouTube videos of my yoga almost daily. So again, I know those aren't that thrilling, and sometimes I post them for members only. I do try to keep some out there for the public in case anybody's interested in checking it out. It's amazing. It really is. And I think for anyone who is interested in trying it, that if you just follow along with like the very last one that I did, which was yesterday. And that's the other thing, I wanted to run this by you guys because it's been taking hours and hours and hours for things to upload on my channel. So I don't know why that is. And it's frustrating, but as long as it uploads in the end, that's fine. But I don't get it. I don't know if it's my system or if it's YouTube or if anybody else has had that trouble. So that is one advantage to doing lives, is you don't have to upload them. So, and the other advantage is that you get to interact with your peeps, and that's the bomb. So thanks so much for being here, you guys. Have a great afternoon. I will try to come on live as much as I can this week. It is the very, very tail end of the summer, so it will be challenging, but you know me. I love doing this. So thanks for being here. And I'm doing my YouTube video yoga thing pretty much every day. That's a commitment. I've been doing my yoga almost every single day for almost a year, and my flexibility has just increased profoundly. So for anyone who's interested, please give it a try. It's really good for your health and it feels great. So again, peace out, light and love. Have a lovely rest of your day. Make sure you stay hydrated. I haven't even drank anything this whole hour, have I? And eat your protein, eat your veggies. Be kind to yourself, be kind to everyone, even the trolls, even the pigs, even the jerks. Kill them with kindness. Seriously, that is, I think, one of the best approaches to dealing with that kind of crud. It throws them for a monkey wrench. I mean, it's almost like you're being unkind to be kind because it bothers them so much, and it's so satisfying. So the whole case is a big cover up with Scammy. Yes, Sherry, 100%. 100%. And that's why there's all these trolls, I believe, in the streets of YouTube trying to get people to shut up. People like me, people like Shan, people like Mark. I don't know if you've experienced any of that, Ninja, but I would imagine that you have. So it's fascinating to me that they're doing that there'd be no reason for them to be expending their energy and their efforts that way, unless, there's always got to be like the cost benefit analysis, right? And really follow the money, right? It's always about the money. So follow the $33.8 billion that Scammy's mommy and daddy are involved in the contracts and distribution of, because that's just crazy. So my doggy's barking. That means I got to go. Love and light, you guys. See you soon. Thanks again, and have a great rest of your evening.